Thank you, Maharaj. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurmilitan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this Srirangam is the largest Vaishnava temple in India or in the world, you could say. They say, of course, in Angkor Wat is a big temple, but you know, there's nobody doing puja there. It's just ruins, Angkor Wat. And it's not even a Vaishnava temple. They worshipped forefathers. But Srirangam, the worship of the deity of Lord Ranganath, has been going on for a very long time. Ramanuja, as we heard 1,000 years ago, and before Ramanuja and Yamunacharya, his guru, and before that many other gurus. So it's a very ancient temple, and it's surrounded by 7 walls. The reason was because they would get attacked. They would get attacked by the different opponents of Vaishnavism, especially neighboring kings who were Shivites. They would want to convert, to take over the nature of the king is to expand the empire. So they would come and they would attack, and they would have to defend the temple. And then after they'd be attacked, they'd build a wall. And then after some time they come back and attack again, so they built another wall. Ended up, you've got 7 walls around the temple. So sometimes hundreds of Brahmins would be killed defending the temple, defending the deity. They would give up their lives to defend the deity. And rather than be converted to Shivaism, they would go to sacrifice their life. So Lord Chaitanya, as we heard, he was coming down South India traveling, and he came here, and it was at the time of Chaturmas. So he was invited for prasadam at the home of Venkata had invited him. Venkata was one of the pujaris of Lord Ranganath. So he'd invited Ramanuja, and he'd invited Lord Chaitanya, come and take your prasad at my house. And while he was taking prasad, Venkata said to him, he said, now is the beginning of Chaturmas. You should stay here now. You should stay with us and tell us the glories of Lord Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya accepted the proposal because Lord Chaitanya had taken sannyas in the line of Shankara. And so they followed that kind of principle. For during the Chaturmasya, they would stay in one place and do some austerities. So Lord Chaitanya was staying here, and every day we'd discuss with Venkatapata and the family, and they would talk about the glories of Lord Krishna and the relationship between Srimati Radharani and Lord Krishna and Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, because the Sri Vaishnavas, their devotion is to Lakshmi Narayan. They consider Lakshmi Narayan the Supreme Lord. They don't consider Lord Krishna to be the Supreme. They say Lord Krishna is like Avatar. So that Lord Chaitanya explained to them, no, actually Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he explained also about Lakshmi, how Lakshmi desired to enter into the Rasa Leela, and she could never do it, although she desired. she could never actually enter into Lord Krishna's Rasa Leela. So in this way, Lord Krishna was establishing the superiority of the worship of Lord Krishna over the worship of Lord Vishnu, Lakshmi Narayana. And so every day Lord Chaitanya would go to temple. An important pastime took place here. Every day Lord Chaitanya would go to the temple and he would see there was another Brahmin there who was trying to recite Bhagavad Gita. But he could not recite very well. And the other Brahmanas who were there, they were mocking him and ridiculing him. Look at this fellow trying to recite. Bhagavad Gita, of course, is the basic, the most simplest of all Shastras. But the Brahmana, he had not had any education, really, and he had great difficulty trying to read. And as he was reading, he could see, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could see tears coming from his eyes. So Mahaprabhu then approached that man and requested him, "My dear sir, please tell me, what are you doing?" And the Brahmana said, "My spiritual master told me every day I should read the Bhagavad Gita." So Lord Chaitanya said, "Oh, very good. You've full faith in the order of the spiritual master. That is very good. Yashya deve parabhaktir yatate deva tataguru." One who has equal faith in Lord Krishna and in the spiritual master, then all of the purports of the scriptures are revealed very easily. So Lord Chaitanya congratulated the Brahmana that you're so faithful to the order of your Guru. Very nicely. But please tell me, why are you crying? Why are you shedding tears? And the Brahmana said, whenever I look, he said, my Guru told me every day I have to read Bhagavad Gita, but I cannot. I'm not educated. It's very difficult for me to read. I don't know the language. Look, why are you crying, Mahaprabhu asked. The Brahmana explained that whenever I look at this picture of Lord Krishna, how he is the chariot driver of his devotee, he said, then the thought of Lord Krishna becoming the charioteer of his devotee, it causes me to weep, that I shed tears of love, that Lord Krishna is so kind upon his devotee. So Mahaprabhu, when he heard this from the Brahmana, Mahaprabhu embraced him and said, you are the real reader of Bhagavad Gita. You don't understand the scriptures just by academic knowledge, but one has to understand them by devotion, the proper mood, the mood of devotion. And Lord Chaitanya saw how this Brahmana, he had that mood of real devotion. So Mahaprabhu congratulated him, and every day Mahaprabhu would come to the temple. He would spend time with the Brahmana and he would teach him to read the Bhagavad Gita. Mahaprabhu was here for 4 months, and so every day he would spend a little time with him and he would help him to read Bhagavad Gita. And in this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed his mercy on this illiterate Brahmana. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu staying here at the home of Venkata, he could give his association to Gopal Bhatta. Later on, Mahaprabhu, of course, when Chaturmasya was over, Venkata Bhatta and family said farewell to Mahaprabhu. At that time, Gopal Bhatta is still young, but after some time, then he wrote to Lord Chaitanya and he wanted some instruction. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him, you go to Vrindavan and take shelter of Rupa and Sanatan. So Gopal Bhatta, of course, he went there to Vrindavan, and because he was from the Sri Sampradaya, he had a good education, he had a good background in the Shastra, and he could help so much in editing scriptures and even writing some scriptures himself. And of course the deity of Radha Raman is there. And Prabhupada said that the deity worshipped there at the Radha Raman temple. He said that is the best. He said that you can learn from them how to worship the deity, because it was Gopal Bhatta Goswami who was worshipping the deity. And from Shaligram Shilas, he had gone up to Ganduki and he brought some Shaligrams back, and he was worshipping the Shaligrams, but he was thinking it would be very nice to see the form of Lord Krishna. And so it happened. The next morning, from his basket of shaligrams, he found there was the form, one shaligram had transformed into the threefold bending form of Lord Krishna playing the flute. So that deity is Radha Raman, that is worshipped there in their temple in Vrindavan. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Just give it. So Mahaprabhu enjoyed association with the family there. They were pujaris. We heard the father, Venkata, he was engaged in the service of Lord Ranganath, and his son naturally had an inclination also to worship the deities. And so he was there in Vrindavan. He got self-manifested form of Radha Raman there to worship. And that worship is being continued. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he never married, he remained completely celibate. But his disciples, they took over the worship after he departed. And they continued to worship, and the Goswamis there, they call themselves Goswamis, but they're usually householders. Right? So Gopal Bhatta Goswami is from here. Prabodhananda Saraswati was the uncle of Gopal Bhatta, one of the brothers of Venkata Bhatta. Prabodhananda Saraswati also went to Vrindavan. And he resided in Vrindavan, and he wrote many books of very exquisite poetry describing the beauty of Vrindavan and the glories of Vrindavan, and saying that anyone who comes to Vrindavan and leaves there, he must be mad, because Vrindavan is the most holy place. So Prabodhananda Saraswati, he lived there in Vrindavan for many years, roamed about and completely detached from the material world. They came to Krishna consciousness by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because Lord Chaitanya came here, he could convince them of the glories of the worship of Lord Krishna. So they all came here. So those are some points. Maybe Prabhu wants to.
Satkriya Sar Deepika and Sanskar Deepika, written by Gopal Bhatta. Yeah. Satkriya Sar Deepika.
Savita, which is about deity worship. Samskar. Yeah.
Hari Bhakti Vilas, edited by
Bhakti Vilas, edited.
Hari Bhakti Vilas.
Hari Bhakti Vilas, edited by Gopal Bhatta. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So is it like that? Gopal Bhatta. Alright, so any other things, any other pastimes about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here? Ramanujacharya was the temple president right? And before him it was Yamunacharya was the temple president. They were in charge of the temple worship. And at some point there were attempts on the life of Ramanujacharya by the Shivites. They wanted to burn out his eyes, and Ramanujacharya's servant, Kulesh, he disguised, he put on the dress of Ramanujacharya, and he got arrested, and his eyes got burned out. But then later on, he came back to the deity. Which deity? Ranganath, Lord Ranganath. And in front of Lord Ranganath gave back his eyes. So, Ramanuja, Jayapataka Swami Maharaj said, Ramanuja had 30,000, how many disciples? Well, 3 lakh. Something like 3 lakh disciples and 700 sannyasis, all assisting him in preaching the message of Sri Vaishnavism. When the Sri Vaishnavas, when Ramanujacharya also, of course, he came to Navadvip, and when he was in Navadvip, Lord Gauranga appeared to him and told him that you don't need to come here. You're not needed here in this place. You're doing very well, preaching your Sri Vaishnavism, but we don't need it here in Navadvip. We worship the Lord more naturally. The Sri Vaishnava system, they give great importance to the worship of the deity. And they worship the deity with great opulence. As I said, they're devoted to Lakshmi Narayan. So their worship is very opulent, and often they have immense jewelry, the beautiful jewels and ornaments for the deities, which are very, very valuable. So that is their system of worship, because it's the mood of Vaikuntha. They don't believe in Goloka. Goloka is a different place, you know. You go, if not everybody in Vaikuntha knows about Goloka. So for the Sri Vaishnavas, their goal is simply Vaikuntha. They don't think about Goloka. They've never heard of Goloka. They worship the Lord in Aishwarya with great awe and reverence, with great opulence. You know, our system is, you know, we're dancing and singing and ecstasy and everything. That's not the Sri Vaishnava. The Sri Vaishnavas, they worship the Lord. Even the Rath Yatra is very sober, and they will recite many mantras, they will recite prayers. You know, they're very regimented and organized. It's with the mood of awe and veneration. But our mood in Krishna consciousness, the system of worship is more Madhurya, right? Madhurya Ras. And that's why we have the big mandap in front of the deities, so that you can dance and chant. But the Sri Vaishnava temples, often it's a small area.
They consider Lord as a king.
Oh yes, they consider the Lord like the king. Yeah. Lord Ranganath is the king. So you come before the king, you must be very respectful, right? You can't take up too much time with the king. Move on, move on. So these are some points to understand.
First deity in the material world. It's the first deity.
It's the first deity. First deity in the material world. From Lord Brahma.
Yes.
Lord Ranganath. Huh?
Came from Siraj. Lord Ranganath came from the Sagar. Sagar means Milk Ocean.
Yeah.
Actually, Brahma requested him, I want to worship your deity form. Then Lord gave his form. Actually, up to then it's worshipped by the Brahma, then Ikshvaku.
Which form did he give? The reclining? That big?
The whole sanctum. Whole sanctum is given from Lord. then Brahma to the Manu, then Ikshvaku, then it came to Ram. From Ram, he handed over to Vibhishan. Vibhishan brought here.
Yes. The reclaim.
Yeah, hold, yeah. Because Vibhishan is like he came from the Rakshasa family, he's no mystic. He basically carried the whole sanctum. Actually, from two pillar and the whole sanctum is brought from there.
But Lord Ganesh became great.
Yeah, that is there. But because this eighth place of Vishnu is called Swayam Vyakta Sedra, where Lord personally want to come. Because when Vibhishana got this deity form, that time there is one king, Dharma Varma, he also came for Pattabhishekam for Ram. Then he praying to Ram, please, praying to Rangam, please come to South India. So when Vibhishana came here, actually Lord made a trick, and he put down and he started doing his Gayatri. So he settled here. Then he told, Lord told to Vibhishana, I want to stay here because a lot of devotees like to worship me. And Vibhishana asked, what for me? I will see in the south direction, especially for you. I will give blessing. Every day, still now, he is coming and worshiping. Every day. Vibhishana is a Srirangam, so every day still he is coming and worshiping.
But Vibhishan got to go to Jagannath Puri and worship Lord Jagannath.
Yeah, this both first time is there.
Ganesh is Mula, the cause of putting here. Ganesh, not Ganesh.
Yeah.
But that Sri Vishnu was not agree this, that's why I didn't told. There is another lesson is there, why he put this deity down means Ganesh came as a small boy, he accepted I will take care, then he put down, then started. And he is there in the top of the small mountain, the Ganesh is there. This is according to Smartas. Sri Vaishnava says, Lord personally want to settle here. There is a 8 place, 4 is in the South India. Srirangam, Sri Mushnam, and Nanganeri and Tirupati. The 4th place, Lord personally want, is called Swayam Vyakta Sedra, where Lord actually, he personally want to stay here. That is. Actually, it's a original first deity form in the material world.